After last week's disappointment of Friday the 13th, I'm very happy to say that 2018's Halloween film, to me, was absolutely brilliant. Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. So today is the 30th of October, not quite the 31st, but I thought to keep this going with the seasonal review videos, I thought, well, I need to do one on Halloween, of course. I had bought the Blu-ray, I think 2 years ago, and I've finally gotten around to watching it. I'd heard so many good things about this film, so I was really excited. And to give you the briefest of reviews, yes, I think it is really a brilliant film, very entertaining. Full disclosure, I am not a huge Halloween fan. I have not seen all the films, so I can only badly compare it to all of them, of course. The first one I saw actually came out in 2002 was Halloween Resurrected. Please forgive me if you're a hardcore Halloween fan. I was only 16 at the time, it's not like I was really aware of what was going on. But I will say that I really liked the film, and even looking back on it nowadays, what I can remember of it, I think it was a very interesting examination of what the reality TV world would make of such a topic like Michael Myers and his house. So I really like what they were going for in the film. Busta Rhymes was surprisingly entertaining in that, so I would actually watch it again because I do remember it also being very creepy and very claustrophobic, of course, with it all just being inside the one house. So I didn't see the original Halloween until actually just a few years ago. I randomly saw it on a streaming service, liked it a lot. Apart from that, I haven't seen any of the other Halloween films, so any of the sequels or the H20 that came out 2 decades ago, I haven't seen any of them, so I'm not really too familiar, and I hope you will forgive me if my review, doesn't get obvious hints or references or something like that. What is it about? So this film is not a remake in that sense, so they're not trying to remake the very first one, they're trying to continue the story. If I'm not mistaken, they're continuing. Full disclosure, I am not a huge Halloween fan, I have not seen all the films. If I'm not mistaken, they're continuing the story on from the second Halloween film, which I haven't seen, so I can't really say much beyond that. But as far as I know, they're sort of trying to ignore a lot of the sequels that came after that. So we are stuck with the main character from those films, which is Laurie Strode. She's played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And what I find really great about this film is we are dealing with her psychological fallout from this series of murders that she went through. So this is 40 years later, and that's also how it's played out in the film. So we are literally 40 years later in the story, and she is still dealing with all the things that Michael Myers left her, and all the psychological baggage. She has a daughter and even a granddaughter, and the relationship there isn't great because, as you can imagine, if you go through such a horrific situation, your whole life will just be centered around paranoia in the extreme, and this is what we learn. So her daughter, she was actually even taken away by social services because she was brought up to deal with weapons, build traps, and all sorts of things. And her granddaughter is trying to rekindle the relationship with the grandmother, trying to reintegrate her in the family, and that's getting a bit difficult. That's the one side of the story. The other side of the story is, of course, Michael Myers. We meet him actually at the very start of the film. He has been incarcerated, he's been in a loony bin, an insane asylum for all this time, doesn't talk to anyone, and you've got his doctor who is just utterly fascinated with the case, of course, as I suppose you would be. And we learn that he is supposed to be transferred. He is supposed to be transferred to another facility, one which he would never be able to break out of. As you can imagine, this is not surprising. But while he's being transported, something goes wrong. His bus doesn't reach its destination. And so he is let loose in that sense on Halloween. Why not? I mean, it would be pretty silly if they did it if they set it on any other day than actually Halloween. And so we watch him as he slowly closes in on Laurie Strode again. Now that's all I'll tell you about the plot, so I won't say how it goes and what we see happening on either side of those two main focal points of the story. You'll have to find out for yourselves. When it comes to how the film was made, I really want to touch on the characterization. I really enjoyed what they did with the characters here. So compared to last week's review, and obviously it's not fair to compare it to a film that came out nearly 40 years before, but still, last week's Friday the 13th, it's all just about the killings really, and here we get so much more because I think it's interesting to explore what would happen to a victim of such a tragic murder spree. So we have Laurie Strode and how that affects her even decades later and how it's really disrupted her relationship with the family. I find all that really exciting. I also enjoy the other perspectives, so from the daughter and the granddaughter's side. The daughter, you know, she's like, yeah, you know, I've been scarred for life for no reason, you know, there is no boogeyman, etc. He's not going to come after us ever again. And all these things, and the granddaughter, she's like, come on, we need to be a family, try and get together, etc. All that. So I really enjoyed all these different aspects. I thought the characters were written very well, acted very well. I really enjoyed that. And then of course you've got the characterization of Michael Myers, who is an unstoppable killing machine. I like him. I just love the thought of him being that unstoppable guy, how he is just not fazed by any obstacles, and I just love that he is in that way always calm, where he just walks towards his victim. I just love the idea of him just being so in control of everything that happens that he just walks along. Now, of course, he's a serial killer, and you could say it's very evil of me and wrong of me to be rooting for him, but I think most people, when they're watching these films, they are kind of rooting for the serial killer as well, because we want to see some mayhem. And Michael Myers definitely delivers. I mean, it's slightly spoilerish, but I mean, his first kill in the film was a 12-year-old boy. He just breaks his neck. And I immediately went, okay, they are just not pulling any punches. This is going to be one hell of a ride. And I was right. I mean, it just continues from there. And it's great. I like it because he is brutal, but he's also incredibly efficient. So it's not like he's wailing on a victim, you know, for minutes on end. It's just a quick stab here and there, but it's just so effective. And as a direct comparison, last week I talked about one victim in Friday the 13th being pinned to a wall with arrows and it not being quite believable. And in this one, he also pins somebody to the wall. I'm like, yeah, I can see Michael Myers doing that. He just lifts him up and sticks a knife through the person into the wall. It's like, yeah, that's very believable that Michael Myers would do that and could do that. So yeah, I'm sorry, but I really enjoyed it, and I think you do watch a Halloween film for the killings. It wasn't overdone, so it's not like we watched hundreds of people getting killed. I mean, but the body count was substantial, definitely. But I just enjoyed how it went, because you see a potential victim. I mean, he's walking along on Halloween, all the kids are collecting their sweeties, and he is just really exploiting this situation where he's just looking for open doors, and you just see him casually strolling in and then just murdering people. Brilliant. I'm sorry. I like it. But also the final confrontation, without spoiling it. So obviously you have a big confrontation between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, and it's in her house, which she has fortified over the years, and that is also the reason she has got this bad relationship with her daughter, because she was just teaching her how all this works, etc. I can imagine that that's a really bad childhood to have. And so obviously Michael, as I said, he closes in on her. At the end, he is actually at the house. And I just like the way it's done, because her house is really, it's been made for this basically. And I just love how, just as an example, she walks and she's checking all the rooms. And once she's done with the room, she presses a button and immediately a sliding door comes down behind her. I just love the intelligence behind that, because in a typical film, you know, you'd say, but you'll still come in from behind her. But here, we absolutely exclude that option, because she's got this door behind her immediately once she leaves the room. And I just love that, because it just shows the intelligence of the situation, how well it was thought out and written. We as the audience were also being taken along the ride, and we're being treated respectfully. I'll say again, comparing it to Friday the 13th, where you had the main character doing a lot of stupid things. You can see how far we've come in the decades and how intelligently written, not all of them, but usually scripts are nowadays like this. I really enjoyed that, and it was really tense, and you do have a lot of great tense moments in this film. That's another thing I do want to mention. So I love that you have bits in between where, even although there are some killings happening, it's rather laid back, I suppose, but you do have a lot of tense scenes, of course, throughout, and they are done masterfully. I mean, Michael Myers, he's just the perfect stalker, so that really fits that, because you never know, where is he? Although or sometimes you even know he's here, but you still don't really have a sense of, but where in this room is he? And it's done really well. I was kept on the edge of my seat a lot of times, and I really applaud them for doing it the way they did. Helping with the tension is, of course, the music. We thankfully also see the classical Halloween theme tune returning. That was quite a funny moment for me halfway through the film. My wife was sitting next to me on the couch. She wasn't watching, but she, all of a sudden in between, she went, that melody, is that? I said, that's Halloween. This is why I do this channel, because I'd be lost if I only had her to talk to about these things. But I was like, yes, that's the famous Halloween theme tune. This is where it's from. And yeah, I was so happy to hear it coming back, and it's right in the intro, and it's just such a perfect tune. I think I'm not the only person who really just loves it. I'm so happy to see it in this film as well. I really enjoy how this film was shot. It's really beautiful to look at. I think it really elevates the material of what would just be a slasher film, makes it look really good, particularly when it comes to Michael Myers. So we've got a few shots of him that look really artful, really well constructed, make him look really menacing and just an imposing character. So I really like that it wasn't just treated very simply, but they said, okay, right, but we need to make this film look really good. So it's really beautiful to look at as well. One thing I will say, and I'm really sorry if you clicked on this review thinking it was about Halloween Kills, which is in the cinemas right now. Sorry about that, but I thought, I need to see the 2018 one first, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to see Halloween Kills. I might not get round to it. I might wait until it gets to streaming, because I've heard sort of mixed things about that. I'm not too sure about what that film sounds like. And I actually thought it was quite a shame. I also heard that there's even a trilogy, so there'll be another one coming out next year, so they're treating them as a trilogy, which I find actually is a bit of a shame, because I feel, without spoiling it, this film would have had a perfect ending. It's, the story in this film is concluded within the film itself, I feel. So once I had seen the film, I was actually very surprised that they brought out another one now, because I felt it was really a very fitting ending to the whole story, and Michael Myers and Laurie Strode and just everything around it. So that is a bit of a shame. I feel that you could take this film and just show it to someone, and you don't need any sequels after that, actually. Okay, those are my thoughts on Halloween. I highly recommend seeing this film if you're able to. I think it is really quite a perfect film when it comes to this. Liked all sorts of aspects of it, particularly the characters and the realistic dialogues and just emotions that we had in it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel. It would be very appreciated by me. Leave in the comments everything you have to say about the Halloween franchise, maybe about the new Halloween Kills without spoiling it, how it is, if I should change my mind and go and see it right now in the cinema. And I will see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care. Bye.